All right, risks of TMJ replacement. I think of that one, that operation, as a lot of high reward and a lot of high risk. And it's not that the risks have a high percentage, it's that the risks have high consequence. So TMJ replacement risks, common ones that come up. The first one that people tell you about is infection with surgery. You hear about it, maybe take some antibiotics. That's not a big deal. TMJ replacement risk, it's about 1 to 1.5%, maybe 2% on the high end. And when it comes to device infections, it's a big deal. So there's a couple management strategies. There's device retention, antibiotic protocols in early infections, or that the device needs to be taken out. Either of those are rather severe consequences. So if there is an infection of a device, it tends to be managed in a rather expeditious manner because of where the device is at the skull base. And those progressing medially or superiorly can cause other rather severe issues. So infection, while it's a small number, is a significant thing. By the way, with the device needs to be changed, there's a time where there's a spacer, and while the new device is being made, it can be, instead of just one surgery, it can be 2, 3, 4 surgeries. So I would say infection is a big one. Device longevity, so the device breaking, current data seems like it lasts to 30 years. It's a little unclear on how it will continue to be, but a device can break just because it's a man-made device. But because of typically how those are inserted and how those devices have held up in the past, the expectation is 20, 30 plus years out of those devices. There's allergy to the device. It is a small rate, but it is thought to be one of the more common causes of chronic pain with that. A good paper out of Pennsylvania on that topic, that residual discomfort in the devices themselves, or really just allergy, and changing it out with a nickel-free device and help out with that discomfort. So I think allergy is one of the risks of the components. There's bone overgrowth or ankylosis, that bone grows over the device, has really decreased now that we've been placing fat into the joints at the time of replacement. So while that risk is diminished over time, it still exists as one of the risks. So I would say those are more device-related risks. In terms of the other things associated with it, there's scars. There's a scar on the tragus or in front of the ear, and it extends probably about up to the sideburn or so. On occasion, depending on how your surgeon approaches, it can have an incision higher up into the hairline. And then there's one at the neck or behind the angle of the jaw. Those scars don't tend to be bad, but it kind of depends on normal scar care in that aspect. There's motor nerves, the facial nerve. The facial nerve's 5 branches. It crosses right over the TMJ. The reason why there's 2 incisions is because if we made one, you'd have a direct injury to the facial nerve. The injuries to the facial nerves tend to be the top and the bottom branch. The top branch is usually from retraction or from retraction and dissection up here. That goes to the eyebrow, by the way. So you can have an asymmetric eyebrow raise with a temporal branch injury on the other side. And then the bottom branch goes to the chin. And that's from the neck incision. That one's found during surgery. And that tends to support the mentalis and the chin musculature. So when you smile, there's a muscle that pulls your lip down. When there's weakness to it, it tends to stick up a little bit higher. And I would say of the rate of facial nerve weakness, that tends to be the most common one. So risk of total facial paralysis is pretty rare. I think it's 1%, less than 1% problem. I really don't see that much. But partial, particularly temporary, is probably mid-single digits. Partial permanent is lower. So it's a hard estimate for me. I would say it's probably low single digits, maybe 1 or 2%. Sorry, I'm talking you guys out of TMJ replacement. Other complications with this. So the feeling nerves are kind of an interesting one. So feeling nerves to the area, you can have numbness on the hairline, numbness on the ear, numbness around a joint itself. There's this auriculotemporal nerve that occasionally also carries with it this problem that when you get hungry, your face sweats. So this gustatory sweating thing. I've seen that a couple times actually. So some numbness happens pretty commonly in people somewhere around the ear, on their hair. You might notice that with sunglasses or your normal glasses. And then every once in a while, you have that oddball one of gustatory sweating. There can be a little bit of lip numbness associated with the lower jaw advancement if that's happening with joint replacement. Otherwise, it's not very common. And then TMJ replacement generally risks with this. It can change the way you look. Things like jawline changing, chin coming out, influencing facial symmetry, those sort of things. And then ultimately, I would say, depending on the situation of function and pain. Oftentimes our goal is improvement of those things, not absolutely no pain or perfect function, right? So the way devices work afterwards are different than how jaws work. And so kind of understanding how those differences are, and then the pain pathways and what to expect in terms of discomfort, talk to your surgeon about those sort of things.